Well, here it is, folks. The first Super Tournament of the year, 2015, the 77th Tata Steel Chess Tournament. Great action, great tournament, great world-class players. Don't miss any of the action. Here are the standings after 6 rounds in the 77th edition of Tata Steel Chess Masters section. One of my favorite tournaments. In first place, 4.5 points. Guy I like a lot. He's a really interesting character. Vasily Ivanchuk from Ukraine. With 4 points, Yavsatsik, I believe it's pronounced. Carlson and So, new to the U.S. chess. He's formerly from the Philippines. So Carlson's back in the hunt, only half a point behind. Vasily Graf and Ding from China and Giri from the Netherlands at 3.5. Caruana, oddly enough, in 8th place with 3 points with Jobava. Sarek from Croatia with 2.5. Hao Yifan from China, current women's world champion, 2 points. Van Wheelie and Aronian with 2. And Jobava, poor Jobava. He plays exciting games though, but who would have thought that after 6 rounds, Levin Aronian from Armenia, number 2 in the world for a long, long time, would be in 13th place with 2 points out of 6 games and no wins. 2 losses and 4 draws, -2. Who'd have thought? Anyway, that's anybody's tournament now. Let's go to the action. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Another game from round 6 of the 77th edition of Tata Steel Chess. This is the Masters section. Between Badur Jobava from Georgia, Soviet Georgia, and Wesley So, originally from the Philippines, now playing for the United States. And of course, as we all know with Jobava, he's a very fascinating player. Always has crazy games, and this is no exception. I do want to say at the end, there's quite a lengthy post-mortem with the winner of this match after the analysis of this game, and very interesting. Anyway, let's get to it. Enough of my ramblings. It's going to be a Gucko piano. Now, Terry Shirts, the Backyard Professor here on YouTube, he was going over to Gucko piano quite a bit. So they're still playing it. And the 2 bishops here with the knights indicate the Gucko piano, or Italian game as some call it. C3. It stops the knight going to B4. D3. Pawn. Castles. Give you an idea after D3. If white had gone D4 just to waste an extra move after pawn takes E5, then it starts getting crazy. D5 after that, and all hell breaks loose. D3, A6, castles. Bishop A7. He wants to save the dark squared bishop. So, does. We'll see how that works out. Very similar to how you save the light squared bishop in the relope. Bishop D5. That's the new move. Let's go back in the computer here. The top 3 moves in the computer are knight to A3, D4, and queen to E2. Now, this is mentioned in the post-mortem. I think Jobava wanted to get out of preparation. Wesley So was in the top 10 in the world, and that was his way of getting out of the preparation. Knight takes, pawn takes, knight E7, hitting the pawn immediately. Knight takes, D6. This can get hairy if you don't play this right. Knight F3, knight takes, rook to E1 check, bishop G5. Now bishop G5 is a top move, and of course that's what Jobava plays, forcing you don't want to go knight to F3 again, or F6, so you push the F pawn. That's to weaken up black's kingside pawns. So you check, the in-between move, king goes to F7, and queen goes to B3. Very interesting. He certainly got out a book, which was his entire intention. We'll see how this works out. This isn't really that bad for white. A tiny advantage on the computer, 1/3 of a pawn. But get to move 13, and against somebody as experienced as Wesley So. Jobava's over 2,700, but Wesley's 2,762. Jobava's 2,727 in rating. Bishop e6. c4. Perfect move. That x-ray isn't really worth much anymore with that pawn there, and he's forced to move the knight. F takes. Pawn takes. Crazy stuff. Bishop d7. Big surprise. We got Jobava playing, and it's a crazy position. Go figure. Knight c3. For those of you that are wondering about capturing the pawn, Bishop b6, and the queen is trapped. Can't get out. Next move. Rook here. Can't get out of it. There's no way to save the queen. So those free pawns, guys, aren't so free. g4 to hit the knight. Good move on Wesley's part. Even though his king looks awful exposed, computer shows a tiny advantage for black. Knight to d2. Rook f8. He's going to hand castle. Knight c to e4. And king to g. That's what they call hand castling. We move the rook, and then you have to move the king next to it instead of both together. Rook a to c1. Of course, that pawn still can't be taken on b7 for all the reasons we went through. b5. Now, I think that was one simple reason. Well, to expand on the queen side, but this knight has nowhere to go that's any good. If he wants to get him in the game, he's going to have to do this and this and waste a lot of tempos. Queen to c3, hitting the c7 pawn, which is backward right now. So he just goes bishop to b6, guarding the pawn, and still eyeballing white's king. a4 for white. Bishop takes. It's the only real move he could have made, I think, and the computer agrees. And in the postmortem, they talked about that. I don't understand why he has to go a4. Maybe somebody that's a better player than I could explain it to me. a4, b takes, knight c4. Maybe the only way to get his knights into play, or get that knight into play, maybe. Bishop a7. He still wants that bishop. That would have been tempting, though, to let him take. That after pawn takes, you got this 3-on-1 pawns. That might have been interesting. Because I'll tell you the truth, bishop to a7 is the first move on the computer, but rook to c8 is a close second. Bishop a7, knight a5. Try to tuck that knight into c6. Queen h4. Now the computer did that. It's showing that everything's the 3 attackers and 2 defenders on the f2 pawn. That's the computer. Pretty funny. Rook to c2, of course, to guard that. And later, if he wanted to, swing this rook over. Easy to double up. So it's not really wasting a tempo. And at the same time, you still have the rook-queen battery. Right now, it's almost a pawn advantage, about a pawn advantage for black. Rook to f7. Now Wesley's going to double up. Now this is where I think Jobava goes wrong. Computer calls for knight to c6. Queen takes. And the score went up a little bit for black. Now, that's awful dangerous. And now Wesley, I think Wesley So doesn't blunder, but has an off move. Bishop to f5 is the move I would have done as well. But he goes bishop to b5. I like that move a lot. Now it swung from a 1.25 advantage for black to a half a point advantage for white. Granted, players like us, when it goes down a 1.5 or so either way, it's no big deal. With these guys, it's a huge deal. Then, move 25 is queen takes c7. Computer has a question mark. Bishop b5, double question mark. Queen to c3 was the computer's move. It takes queen takes d6. Another. So we have 3 question marks in a row on the Fritz computer. They might have been inaccuracies, but I think they were being a little tough. I think the settings on the computer today must have been turned up to cranky to get that kind of nonsense. But now it's back to almost 2-point advantage for black. We're not in any time trouble. It's move 26. Bishop takes. G3 hits the queen. Queen goes to H5. Rook to D2 is the move for the computer. And the second move is horrible. Not even a close second. And that's Rook to C7. And the points shoot up for black. Over 3-point advantage now. Plus the bishop pair, which is probably some of it as well. This is sad, but how else could white have saved the game? Rook E8. Here's where it starts getting crazy. Look at these pieces starting to... This knight's going to be coming in. This knight's in the vicinity. Queen, rook. This pawn's coming down. And this black king here. Rook takes A7. Rook takes A7. Not as strong as bishop takes. And then rook takes. And that actually puts the game almost even. After rook takes A7, knight C6, here comes the knight. Rook F7. White's pieces are starting to mass now. Queen B4. Rook over. Knight D7 check. King moves. F4. He's probably thinking, let him double up. Pawn takes pawn in passant. Knight F2. Bishop E2. D6. Queen B5. Queen D4. Queen D7. Rook C1. Just methodically going through. Rook F6. Rook C8 or C6. Bishop B5. He's fighting back, but it's not working out. It's an 8-point advantage now for black. Rook to B6. It's over. Queen to E6. And that's for white. Jobava from Georgia resigns. He always has crazy games, and this is no exception. To give you an idea what would have happened after queen to D1, queen E5, and it's over. Heck of a game, fascinating game, fun game, but nonetheless puts Wesley So in second place, tied with Carlson, and I'm trying to remember who else he's tied with after round 6. So there you have it, folks. The two games I had from round 6, both pretty fascinating games. The Carlson-Caruana game and this game. I hope you enjoyed it. And as I always say in all my videos, if you think chess is just a game,